So I had a question from Lee last week, member of the group. So Lee, if you're watching this, thanks for watching. Hopefully everyone's catching up on these. He said, I'm going to directly quote because I think it's quite funny. Yo, what's your opinions on sun cream? I follow some health fitness professionals on Twitter, and a lot of them say that sun cream is awful and you shouldn't ever use it. Then other people are like, always put factor 50 on your face or it will F your skin. Okay, so not quite direct quote. Okay, so I'm going to give you what kind of my opinions and reasons behind what I do around sun cream are, and obviously it's your choice whether you choose to follow that or not, but I'm going to give you the reasons why. Okay, so the sun, I've kind of written a blog kind of thing. Okay, the sun's been around for 4.5 billion years. Okay, 4.6 billion years. Okay, the Earth has been around for about 4.5 billion years, and life on Earth has been around for 3.5 billion years. You and I, Homo sapiens, humans, in the current form that we are, have been around for about 200,000 years. Sun cream has been around for about 70 or 80 years. Now, obviously, in the past, they may have used other things to protect them from the sun, for example, mud or such like, I don't know exactly, but they may have used some form of natural product. Okay, problem with sun cream though, it is completely unnatural, the vast majority of it. Okay, there are sun creams out there which do rely on more natural products. I haven't got a list of them, but they will be out there. It will be simply Google toxin-free sun cream. Okay, and you'll be able to take your pick. Okay. So I see it as a terms of evolution. We've been around for a very long time. The sun has been around for a very long time. Sun cream has not been around for a very long time. So is it actually the right thing to wear? Okay, is it the right thing to do? Now, in certain situations, yes, but for the vast majority of the time, I'm going to say no. Okay, sun cream has lots of chemicals in it, mostly from the oil industry, and some of them are known to be a cause of cancer. So we're putting sun cream on to prevent cancer, and we are knowingly putting chemicals onto and into our body that cause cancer. Seems slightly backwards. Okay, the next thing is UV light. Okay, sorry, sun cream. Its main job is to prevent us getting sunburn from UVA and UVB sunlight. Okay, lots of sun creams only protect against one, so UVB or UVA. Generally UVB, because that's deemed the more dangerous, higher energy light frequency. So more modern ones actually protect against both. Older ones and some still only protect against UVB, which is, yeah, the higher powered, potentially more dangerous one. But UV light is good for us. Okay, UV light has a huge number of benefits to our body. So UV light helps us to create vitamin D. Okay, this is the kind of thing we know about sunlight. We all know that sunlight helps us create vitamin D. Vitamin D is an antioxidant. It supports our immune system. It keeps calcium and cholesterol in the right place, which protects us against heart disease. Okay, it also protects us from arthritis, muscle tightness, and just pain in general. UV light is also a vasodilator. So what vasodilator means is that it opens up our blood vessels. Okay, not just the ones that are near our skin. Okay, it will open up all of them. Again, that's going to be good for our heart. It's going to help us with oxygenation. Okay, so the thing that it helps to do is it releases a chemical called nitric oxide into our body, which is the chemical agent which opens up our blood supply, opens up the blood vessels, which then in turn allows more oxygen to pass through our body and to get to where it needs to go, because we don't really want oxygen in our blood. Kind of doesn't really matter there. It's not doing anything apart from getting to the places that it needs to go, and where it needs to go is a cell, okay, which is where we do our energy metabolism, okay, with closed capillaries, okay, or capillaries that are not as open as they could be. That oxygen supply getting to our cells is lower than we want it, okay. When we get cells that are not well oxygenated, that's when we get cells that become dysfunctional, okay. When they malfunction or rebuild in a malfunctioned way, that's when we're going to start getting disease processes, okay. UV light also helps to thin the blood, okay. So our blood cells can clump together, so they all become like, imagine there's like 20 blood cells here, okay. They all get stuck together, okay. When we expose ourselves to UV light, those blood cells separate apart. Again, that helps to improve oxygenation going to our cells. Next, okay, so there's many reasons, okay. UV light kills bacteria and viruses. So if we do have any kind of bacteria that we don't want on our skin, or viruses that are floating about in the air, UV light will help to kill those, okay. We've kind of learned a little bit about that over the last couple of years. Sunlight and UV light kills off bacteria and viruses. Obviously, it's not foolproof, but it is a very good non-toxic way of killing bacteria. So a toxic way of killing bacteria would be like an antibacterial wipe or sprays or that kind of stuff that will have some sort of toxic chemical in there to kill the bacteria, whereas UV light does it completely toxin-free. Now, here's a big one. UV light helps us to produce melanin. Melanin gives us our skin tone. So when we get out in the sun, that's what helps provide our tan, essentially. And that skin pigment acts like suntan lotion, essentially. Okay, so that gives us extra protection against the sun. Now, if we're blocking our body from receiving ultraviolet light from the sun, our brain and our body and our skin doesn't get that message to produce melanin, which keeps our skin pale, which means we're not, when the sun is intense, we're not getting the protection we need from our skin. Okay, melanin is an antioxidant. So we kind of want a bit more melanin in our body at times of the year because it helps to keep our body clean from free radicals, okay? Cells in our body or atoms, chemicals in our body that are missing electrons. Yes, Mathilde, yeah, we do. It doesn't block all UV light, okay? It means we can be out in the sun for longer. It doesn't block all UV light. We can be out in the sun for longer, but that can cause other problems, okay? We don't get the same benefit from the sunlight when we're wearing it, okay? It helps us to produce serotonin. It's a happy chemical. You can be out in the sun, and that then helps decrease stuff like depression and anxiety. Serotonin is also a pain reliever. So when we go on holiday, generally we're a lot happier because we spend more time in the sun. Yes, sometimes that's with sun cream on, right? And it still works, okay? It still does, but I'm more worried about the toxin level of sun cream. Okay? And it reduces our ability to do this stuff. I'll get onto that. Okay. So yes, the next thing, serotonin improves our gut function. So it's kind of as a lead on from helping us produce more serotonin. It improves our gut function and our gut bacteria. So again, we're going to get more benefits in our gut from serotonin to help us then goes into sleep. So and later on in the day when we are not exposed to light and it gets dark, serotonin starts to then get converted into melatonin, which is another antioxidant, and it helps us to sleep deeply. Okay. UV light can help clear up skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema. Okay. So all sorts of things. Okay, so for cuts and grazes, if you've got cuts and grazes, that's going to kill off any bacteria that are on the skin. It's going to help clean that up. If you've got sun cream on, you're probably not going to want to put sun cream on a cut and a graze. It's going to get in there. It's going to, it's actually going to start producing an infection. Okay. So I don't really want sun cream toxic ones. Okay, as I said, you can get non-toxic ones. Okay, you don't want toxic ones, which are the general kind of run-of-the-mill Nivea, etc., etc. Can't think of all the brands right now. Okay, but the general run-of-the-mill stuff that you're going to get off the shelf at the supermarkets and at the Superdrug and whatever, you want to be checking the ingredients list and looking for non-toxic brands. Okay, they are out there. Okay, so I'm not saying it's completely don't ever wear sunscreen ever again. Okay, I'm just saying be aware the normal sun creams that we normally get have high levels of carcinogenic chemicals within them. Okay, I'm going to go on to now to, yes, I'll just answer your question, Melinda. Yeah, there was strong sun reflecting from the snow causing burn. I use factor 30 and still get some peeling. From how do you prevent sunburn? So, well, yeah, on the snow, okay, I can't remember if I've written it in here. Okay, when we're at high altitude, ultraviolet light is higher. Okay, we've got less kind of atmosphere, less height between us and the sun. Okay, albeit it's relatively minimal. It's, you know, maybe 1,000 meters or so, but it's enough to increase the UV level to much higher than it would be at sea level. So the sun intensity is much higher when you're at altitude. Okay, so the thing is, yes, you can use sun cream, okay, in certain cases. Okay, if you cannot prevent yourself from being out in the sun for a long period of time, then it would be preferable to getting sunburn. Okay, it would be preferable to getting sunburn if you cannot prevent it. Okay. Hats, okay, obviously when you're skiing, you're wearing a helmet, so wearing a hat is not possible, but if you're out and about and you're not skiing and you're just kind of just out about your day, okay. Does that make sense, Melinda? Does that answer your question?
Well, I mean, it's the face that's exposed.
Yeah.
As you know, I was wearing a helmet. I had sunglasses. I've got a bit of panda eyes almost. You're not as bad as some of the people, but I mean, I've got Celtic skin, so I take ages to change color.
I will get onto that a little bit in the next section.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, like you said, I don't ever wear factor 50, but everyone's saying, oh, you've got to put factor 50 on, what have you, because I believe that you do have to let your skin be exposed to get some sort of color in. And obviously, providing it's not middle of the day, normally in the summer, you know, I just stay out the sun between sort of 12 and 2.
Absolutely.
But obviously when you're up a ski slope, you can't do that. And it is literally your face that is being exposed. I
mean, the way to do it is to, is cover up as much skin as possible. And as you said, avoid the absolute peak. So it would be cover up as much as possible in the peak hours if you cannot get into shade.
No shade, no trees.
Yeah. If you cannot avoid it in some way, is to cover it up or find non-toxic sun cream as another way. Okay. But I will get onto other methods as well. So there are many ways. Okay. Til's question: as you age, your skin gets stains, patches, often due to sun damage. Any way to minimize this? Now, this I don't know. Okay, I don't know whether that's true that you get skin stains and patches because of the sun. I don't know if that's right or wrong. So I can't say anything on that. And whether it's actually damage or not is another matter. Okay.
Well, I get freckles, so that's effectively the same thing.
It's not necessarily.
No.
Okay. So I'll go on some tactics and techniques to help minimize the problems, because if we go out in the sun at midday and we haven't trained, okay, then that's a possibility. I'm going to teach you how to how to be safer in the sun, potentially without sun cream, or with non-toxic. Okay, non-toxic goes, I think they go up to factor 30 or even 50 anyway. So you can get non-toxic sun creams that are really high SPF. Okay, so if that is a concern, it's just a case of finding another brand that's not kind of straight off the shelf at the shop. Okay, you probably have to go onto some online shop, maybe Amazon. Probably Amazon almost certainly will have non-toxic sellers on there. Okay, so there will be stuff out there. All right, so why do we get sunburn? Okay, we've evolved for millions of years and thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. 200 years ago, people still might have got sunburn, but it was much less likely. Okay, because we worked outside. We were in the sun, rain or shine. We were outside, rain or shine, every day of the year for our entire lives. That is basically how we avoid it. Okay, but obviously we work different. We have a completely different lifestyle now. Okay, so we need to know how to manage that without getting sunburned, without damaging our skin, and preferably without wearing these toxic chemicals that we get on our skin. Okay, so oxybenzone is one of the main chemicals that they're talking about. There are numerous others that are in sun creams that are still known carcinogenics. Okay, so when we put stuff on our skin, it absorbs directly through our skin, straight into our blood. Okay, so we're putting these toxic chemicals straight into our blood, and then they get pumped around our body, and our liver can't always get rid of them. Okay. So they were doing, can't remember the exact study. Okay, I could see if I can find it, where they tested thousands, I believe, thousands of people. They tested their urine, and they were finding these chemicals in the urine of people. So 97% of people, they found these carcinogenic chemicals in, and they're pretty much only found in sunscreen. Okay, so pretty much everyone has been exposed to them because pretty much everyone wears sunscreen. Right. So we spend most of our day indoors, okay, and it's you guys in this group might be a little bit different, depending on your work situation, depending on your life situation. But for the vast majority of people, they're spending 8 or 9 hours at work. When we're up in the morning, we tend not to really go out that much first thing in the morning. Get in the car, drive to work, get to work, go inside for most of the day, go out to the car, drive home, and then stay inside. Okay, that's certainly in winter. Okay, and in summer we tend to be a bit better and we go outside a bit more, but that tends to be a rough gauge. I think the average time somebody spends outside in a day is about 2 hours. Okay. Okay. When we do go outside, there is a strong tendency, if you're in an office environment, it tends to be at lunchtime. Okay, that's when the sun is at its peak intensity. So that is the most dangerous. So we're untrained, okay, essentially, and we're going out only really at the peak hours of the sun. Okay, so we're only really exposing ourselves, and it might be a bit too long depending on skin tone. Okay, so skin tone does count. Again, when we're working in an office, we're under fluorescent lights. We might not be as hydrated as possible. So I'll put a little analogy in here. If my skin cells are underhydrated, they are more likely to burn. So if we compare that to a barbecue, it sounds a bit silly, but if we compare that to a barbecue, if I put dry coals on a barbecue and light that, that's going to burn really quite quickly. But if I go out and chop some wood off a living tree and then try and burn that, that's going to take a lot longer to burn because of the inherent water content in that wood. Okay, so we are dehydrated, and then there's more reasons than just purely not drinking enough water. Okay, so we're exposed to EMF, which dries out our skin. We're exposed to air conditioning, which dries out our skin. Again, depends on your office environment. And we're exposed to artificial lights, which also dry out our skin. There's another reason why we might be dehydrated. is that because when we drink water and we're in these kinds of environments, we're not exposed to sunlight. Sunlight helps us to put water into our cells. So if we're not getting outside enough, and you can drink almost as much water as you like, and it's just going to pass straight through, it's not going to get to the places where we need it to go, okay, and remain there. Okay, so if you drink 3 liters of water, 3 liters of water is just going to come straight back out, okay, even if you're dehydrated. Okay, one of the biggest ones, okay, is sunglasses. Okay, and this is another problem with perhaps the skiing side of things. Okay, you do need to wear eye protection when you're skiing because of the glare and reflection. But again, there's a way that might be able to get around it a little bit. Okay, I'll go on to the sunglasses bit. So in my eye, okay, I've got the retina at the back of the eyeball. Okay, we've got cones and rods in there. Okay, that's the stuff people have maybe kind of heard about. That's the color vision and kind of black and white vision. We've also got another type of cell on our retina. It's called melanopsin. Okay, and that is UV. It registers UV light. That message from the melanopsin, from the UV light, goes back into my brain and helps me to produce melanin, which is the skin pigment. Okay. That is triggered, well, the best time to trigger that is as early in the day as possible. So if I go back a step to my office worker who only goes out at lunchtime and never really sees daylight, maybe wears glasses or sunglasses pretty much every time they're outside, if they've not exposed their eyes to sunlight early in the morning, their body hasn't then gone out and produced any melanin, because it's like their body thinks it's winter. It's like, oh, it's dark. There's no UV light. I don't need to produce any melanin, so it won't. And then they go out at lunchtime, and all of a sudden their body is exposed to high intensity UV light, and they haven't produced any melanin. Okay. So if we bring this to the ski slopes, one thing you could do, okay, is not wear your goggles for the first 20 minutes, half an hour, particularly if you're up early in the day. Okay, so up at sunrise, get as much light in your eyes as early in the day as possible. That kickstarts your hormones to produce the melanin that will go out and protect your skin. Okay, you do have to wear goggles for the rest of the day because it will make you snowblind. Okay, it will damage your eyes, okay, because of the intensity of the UV light and the reflection. Okay, so you're kind of getting double dose when you're on the snow. But first thing in the morning, when UV light intensity is really, really low, okay, or non-existent, you can start getting your body producing the right chemicals. Is that making sense? Yeah. Okay, so our circadian rhythm also plays a factor. If we're not getting the right sleep, if we're not getting the right hormones in our body, I've already kind of covered that one. Yeah, so that was about melanin. Okay, lack of training. Okay, again, touched upon this. This is the time of year to get out and start building our tan. Okay, getting out in UV light now, when the UV light levels are very low, albeit you still don't want to be out for hours and hours on end. And it does depend on skin tone as well. So I've got darker skin, I can cope a bit more with it. Melinda, with kind of Celtic skin, as you mentioned, you're going to have to be out for a bit less, okay, but you're still going to get good effects. Okay, so we need to start training now our skin in the sun, preferably without sun cream, to build up our defenses, so that in summer, when the sun is more intense, you can cope. Okay, your skin can cope. So yeah, okay. Skip that over. Okay, holidays, another big problem. We go from England to south of Spain, to Greece, to Turkey. We are a lot closer to the equator. This is kind of common sense. This is an interesting fact. I found it interesting anyway. Sunlight intensity increases by 1% for every 6 miles south that you go. Now, the south of Spain is about 1,200 miles away. So the sun intensity quadruples between London and the south of Spain. So that's quite a big jump. So if you can cope with an hour of unprotected midday sun in the UK, in England, you can fly to Spain and it'll be 15 minutes. Okay, so you do have to be careful. You do have to seek shade. You do have to avoid or cover up, okay, in intense sun. Okay? If you are going without sun cream at all, okay, I haven't worn sun cream in 5 years. I went to the Dominican Republic and I had coconut oil. That was it for 10 days. Okay, and that was in like October, November. Didn't get sunburn, didn't even go red. It's possible. Okay, I was just sensible with my sun exposure. I was out first thing in the morning because the sun is like pretty much safe for the first hour, hour and a half of the day, even there, because they're relatively near the equator. So the first hour or two of the day from sunrise, dawn, is vitally important because it kicks my hormones into gear to produce all the right chemicals to make the right stuff to protect my skin. I didn't wear sunglasses at all. Haven't worn sunglasses in, and again, I've never really worn sunglasses. So my body is always receiving UV light. So my body knows exactly what time of year it is from the UV light. Okay, my body can read that. Years and years and years of evolution have told my body and told a human, this is the time of year it is. And I can tell you that because this is how much UV light is entering your eyes. Okay? It knows it. It's in innate intelligence in my body. Okay? So that is how you can do it. Okay, as I said, skin tone, it does matter. Someone with darker skin needs more, okay, because their skin is essentially blocking out that UV light and they need it to produce vitamin D. Someone with lighter skin is at a vitamin D advantage, okay? Because they don't have that melanin, they don't have that skin tone, their body will accept all that UV light super quick, okay? And it'll be like, vitamin D, bam, you only need 5 minutes. Okay, so you're kind of at a vitamin D advantage. That's why people who live in more northern climates, okay, particularly if their family hasn't moved geographically across time, as in moved from Southern Europe or North Africa to Scotland, for example, you just don't need as much time in the sun, okay, to produce the same amount of vitamin D. You don't need very long at all. So it's kind of an advantage. Okay, you can produce a lot of vitamin D in a very, very short period of time. But it does mean, particularly if you're going to hotter countries with more intense sunlight, you have to be smarter, more careful. Okay, any further questions? I'll see if I can answer them. There might be stuff I can't answer, I don't know. Okay. Okay. Cool, Matilde, excellent, that's good. Frequently other night and have only 4 or 5 hours. Might depend when you wake up. It might depend because you're wearing ski goggles all day, or for the vast majority of the day, or sunglasses for the vast majority of the day. That might be preventing the light getting into your eyes, which then affects circadian rhythm. Also might depend on evening activities, depending on where you are, the light you're exposed to in the evening. I.e., is it loads of LED lighting in bars or cafes or restaurants? That screws up our sleep. Okay? Is it higher intensity than what you're used to at home? No. I'm just going to pause. Okay.